Hi, I'm Andrea Deer with the Whole Kit and Caboodle. Today's question is from Theodora in Putnam Valley, New York. Theodora asks, I'm a beginner at using chalking inks. Are there other ways to apply or use them outside of inking edges of die cuts? Can you blend them, and can they be used for stamping? Utilizing chalking inks is our number one Ask Andrea question. We have prior videos on the basics of using chalking inks and one on how to store and organize them. Be sure to check those out. For this tip, I'm going to focus more on other ways to utilize your chalking inks outside of accenting the edges of your die cuts. Chalking inks are very soft in their appearance and very different from stamping inks such as dye inks or pigment inks. Once a chalking ink dries, it will appear slightly lighter than when it was applied. So for this reason, I wouldn't suggest stamping with a chalking ink. In my scrapbooking, admittedly, I primarily use chalking inks to add a dimensional effect to the individual die cut pieces of my images. But chalking inks are also great for adding a soft watercolor effect to your background of your pages. Let me show you a few examples. In this beautiful life design, I lightly chalked my white background cardstock sheet with various colors of red, green, and yellow. The placement of my color was designed specifically to match my die cuts, as you will see in the next few steps. In this second example, our hot summer days design, I again started with a white background. I wanted to give the effect of a summer haze, so I used a pre-cut circle as a guide or stencil. I lightly inked around the circle first with a medium teal, blending next with a lighter teal, and finally with a yellow. Notice how the yellow and teal together give the illusion of a green layer. Here's what it looks like when I remove the circle stencil, and then again our final page. So fun, right? Let me show you one more example of this technique, and then I will give you a demonstration on how to do it on your own. For our final example, I was made for sunny days. I wanted to extend the sun's rays with a soft chalking effect. Again, I started with a white background. You could freeform the rays, but I wanted a very crisp effect for this, so I used an overlay as my stencil. I started with a yellow, then added touches of orange. Once the overlay or stencil is removed, we have created a gorgeous sun for our page. You'll notice with all of my examples, I start with the white base. So the white cardstock serves as the backdrop because I really think it makes the colors pop. You ready to try the technique? Let me show you how. For this sample, I am going to start with our spoke custom overlay. And I'm going to start with summer days, desert sun, sandstone, and fall leaves, quick quotes, chalking inks. With this technique, I suggest using some sort of dauber or blending brush instead of doing it direct from the ink pad. You can do it direct from the ink pad, but you can get this more of a stamping effect than this soft look that we're going for. So I'm going to start with the summer days, and I am going to generously apply that ink to my dauber. Now the key is we don't want to stamp because we don't want it to be a circle. We want to fill in this area very lightly. So it's this constant circular motion, and we're going to go all the way down, filling in that entire stencil there from our overlay. We can always add more if you prefer it to be darker, because don't forget, as I said, this is going to dry a little lighter. So saying that, if you get it a little too dark, don't worry. it again will dry a little lighter. So I'm going to do our first couple spokes here with that Summer Days, which is a light yellow. And again, using that circular motion, filling all those little crevices of our overlay. All right, for the next color, I'm going to use a slightly darker yellow, our Desert Sun. And again, I'm generously going to put the ink onto the dauber, and same thing. We're going to do a little bit of a circular motion, and we're going to fill in that entire spoke there, that ray from our stencil. I'm going to go back to my ink pad, and again, filling in that open area of our stencil. If you're worried about getting it too dark, always use a very light pressure. You can always go back and add more later. So I'm going to continue this process here with the next two colors, and then we'll pull away our stencil and we'll see the final effect. So now that I have my half circle of rays all complete, we're going to remove our overlay and see what fun that is. All you're going to do is add a few photos here in the center, maybe some pattern paper strips at the bottom, and you have this great kind of custom background that would give here the illusion of our sun rays. If you wanted a really soft effect, like a halo over all of those, you could take a really, really light or pale yellow and just really lightly go around all of them. Again, remember, we don't want to stamp because we don't want that circle stamp. We want it to be a continuous, really soft motion going all the way around. But not only that, look what it's done to our original overlay here. So we can just continue to use this overlay over again. That way we can get as much use out of this as possible. You know, you could do it with shades, various shades of pink. You could do it from blue to green. You could do all sorts of things. It wouldn't have to be a sun. You could do the rainbow where everyone is a different color. Or after we have our fun half circle sun ray there, we could use this itself on a page. So continue going all the way around, right? And maybe give it a border color as well. How fun is this? Look at that fun effect that it put on our overlay. Let me show you one more fun example of how to use chalking inks outside of the box. I was recently at a crop and was going to use my Cricut to die cut a little baby for my granddaughter's scrapbook. When I looked in my stash, I noticed I didn't have any flesh or cream colored cardstock in my stash. So what I did was I used an ink that would be pretty close to flesh tone, and I used my ink pad to totally color in an area where the die cut would be positioned on my cutting mat. Then I took that piece and I ran it through my Cricut machine. So once she was cut out, I was left with this perfect flesh-colored little baby die cut. I hope this has encouraged you to pull out those chalking inks and experiment and try something new. Keep asking your questions, and I'll see you for the next Andrea's Wednesday tip. Happy scrapping!